Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news. After lots of speculation in recent days, AlphaTauri indeed are getting a full rebrand for next season. A brand new name, brand new title sponsors, and also a brand new livery. The question is though, is this actually any good? A lot of people seem to believe that based on the current rumours around this and the big leaks we have had over the last couple of hours, they could have done much better than the option they seem to have selected. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Firstly, big stories around the F1 paddock with Mick Schumacher, current and continuing onward reserve driver for Mercedes. You know that the current meme is that when Mercedes have a bad Friday, Mick gets locked in the simulator room until the morning when he comes out with the numbers on what to do for the setup for the next day to tell the team what's going on. But of course, you can't necessarily do that all the time. He definitely needed to find a drive next season somewhere. They tried to get him into F1. Toto Wolff was apparently trying to pull all the strings with James Vowles, of course, formerly top Mercedes strategy guy, now team principal at Williams, to try and make that Mick to Williams move happen. But they said, no, we're going to stick with Sargent, which seems to be what they're going to do after, well, he had a good Las Vegas qualifying, although to be fair, he was P20 for the previous 5 qualifyings in a row. So I'm not still so sure that I would keep Sargent on if I was Williams, but it's nice what they're doing over there, and Schumacher did not have that as an opportunity. So next year he's got to drive somewhere, can't just sit on the sidelines forever. So he's going to go to WEC and actually drive for Alpine. So he will stay as Mercedes reserve driver, but also will be racing for Alpine in their hypercar project. This was also a really cool bit of news as well with Robert Kubica, legend in the Formula 1 world for the last couple of decades, really, is, well, he's finally got a Ferrari drive. He's going to be driving for AF Corsa, which is basically the Ferrari WEC team that recently won Le Mans, and he's going to be taking the wheel of a third Ferrari 499P Le Mans hypercar. So that's awesome to see as well. But as we get into this whole AlphaTauri thing, there was this discussion for Alfa Romeo that their livery will stay, and I do wonder whether a lot of other teams will do this as well, just because they say this as if, oh yeah, our livery was so well received in Abu Dhabi, or in Las Vegas, sorry, that we're going to keep it for Abu Dhabi because that's what the fans want. The reality, I'm sure, is they don't really have the time or the ability to paint it back again, so they're just going to leave it how it is. And I'm sure that other teams might do the same thing. They'll be like, oh yeah, this is definitely our plan all along to keep this for Abu Dhabi, but you know, it just makes sense. A week apart, the race begins in, well, this weekend. This weekend is also the conclusion to the Formula 2 title race. Teo Pourchaire is almost certainly going to win. I do think, to be honest, like, the way that they do this is kind of outrageous. The fact that they do 12 rounds until Monza, which was months ago, and we have to wait, what, 3 or 4 months for the championship finale. I know they want to finish in at Abu Dhabi. You know, that's where the big bucks come from, and we know why. But still, I mean, come on. Like, this championship should have been done and dusted months ago. But still, Teo Pourchaire is probably going to win. There was rumours that he might take Zhou Guanyu's seat on the grid in the Alfa Romeo next season, but that does not seem particularly likely at the moment. Still, technically, Iwasa, Vesti and Pourchaire could win, but, well, it's pretty clear that Pourchaire should get the job done. A few Formula 2 drivers as well will drive at Abu Dhabi in Formula 1 practice. Jake Dennis, not Formula 2 driver, he's actually the reigning Formula E World Champion. He's 28, I believe, so he's getting a quick test in the Red Bull car. Isaac Hadjar for Red Bull. Frederick Vesti, of course, at Mercedes will take over Russell's car. As you know, he'll take over Hamilton's car because he took over Russell's back in Mexico City. Robert Schwartzman at Ferrari, just to go through all of the names here. Pato O'Ward at McLaren. That's going to be interesting, of course, top IndyCar driver at the moment. There's Felipe Drugovich, who's going to be driving the Aston Martin. Jack Doohan, the Alpine, because everyone's there, so why not just get them involved? And Zach O'Sullivan for Williams. But also, I think it's Behrman as well, isn't it, in the Haas? And I think Pietro Fittipaldi might be doing a post-weekends test for them. So lots of drivers, as you might expect. I just refreshed this, and apparently Teo Pourchaire as well will also be, I guess, in the Alfa Romeo. Makes a perfect amount of sense. But AlphaTauri, they are not putting any test drivers in their car. I'm pretty sure it's just Yuki and Ricciardo this weekend, but it's not going to be AlphaTauri for too much longer. The big rumour that was going around yesterday was that this Racing Bulls name had been floating around, and apparently that is now basically a done deal, and they will not be partnering, from a naming perspective at least, with Hugo Boss or Adidas. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Racing Bulls F1, and we'll get into what I think of that in a second and intrigue to your thoughts on that in the comment section below. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like Oracle Red Bull Racing, you know, where you have the Red Bull Racing logo, but then the actual logo has Oracle slightly above it. So I could definitely see this new AlphaTauri, or shall we call them Racing Bulls, if we really have to, logo having something like this, but then there'll be a title sponsor above it, because let's be honest here, what is this organization meant to do? It's there to cash in, you know. They tried it with AlphaTauri, this clothing brand, to rebrand it to that and make it work for the last few years. They've, you know, helped that clothing brand grow some presence, and look, it's still pretty niche for a lot of people. It's not, and there's not even many. You know, there's only a couple of stores in the world, really. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 in London, the AlphaTauri stores, but at least in the UK. Apart from that, kind of difficult to even get this stuff, to be honest, if you even wanted to. So it had a runway, you know. They were going to do that for a couple of years, then they were going to change it around again, and they will want to get whatever money they can. So I'm sure they will partner with some sponsors, and we'll see what rumoured sponsors they might be in a second. But this is the rumoured logo that's been going around here. So this logo and the word mark Racing Bulls was trademarked by Red Bull GmbH, which is you know, like Germany, Austria. They use this type of stuff instead of like limited or corporation or whatever at the end of their companies. So that's what's going on there, and this was trademarked apparently earlier this year. So here we go. This is the new supposedly Racing Bulls logo, and this is just like, honestly, Racing Bulls, it sounds like one of the things that when people do those Drive to Survive like mock series and they can't call it Red Bull because they don't have the rights, they usually rename Red Bull to Racing Bulls because it's still RB and it's close enough, and it's very clearly a knockoff version, a wish.com version of the actual Red Bull team. But Racing Bulls, it's like, is this really? And the logo, I mean, sure, you can see them slapping a logo of some sort of sponsor above this. And the rumor is that these will be the 2 big sponsors of next year's car, Cash App and Visa. And it will likely go to a blue and silver livery. So it will effectively look something like the, well, I think there was even a tweet that came out here saying that it's going to look like a sugar-free Red Bull, which is maybe what they're going for, to be honest. Like, they're going to have the main Red Bull team, and then it's going to be quite clearly the Red Bull sister team designed looking in a very similar way to their sugar-free option, possibly. I don't know. But this has been one of the potential mock liveries. Of course, look, it's not going to have AlphaTauri anymore. The logo's going to be different, but it's going to be very much Red Bull embodied, but in the different colors. So what do you guys think about this? The silver, the you know, the blue. I think it could look pretty nice on next year's car. What I don't really understand is, though, why can't we just do Toro Rosso again? This is the thing. If you're going to go for Red Bull, I mean, sure, people say Racing Bulls is a stupid name, and in fairness, Toro Rosso is just Red Bull in Italian. But still, people have fond memories of Toro Rosso. You could still have Toro Rosso sponsored by Cash App or Visa or whatever if you wanted to do a title sponsor like that, which they, I'm still pretty convinced, will probably try and do, even if it's not Hugo Boss or Adidas, as was rumoured. And look, thankfully it's not Hugo Boss Bulls Racing, which was the rumour a while ago. But to be fair, it's not too dissimilar. But this is what the Toro Rosso used to look like, right? It was very clearly a knockoff Red Bull, but at least had a pretty cool name, Toro Rosso. The thing that annoys me most about Racing Bulls, because people might say, oh, whatever, it doesn't really matter, like it's just a team name, people will forget. But it's just because it has the same acronym as Red Bull, you know what I mean? So we've got Red Bull Racing, RBR, Red Bull, that's the main team. So when we talk about RB, or the RB19, that's Red Bull. We know what that is. AlphaTauri is AT, and that's quite, you know, clearly differentiated. Toro Rosso, of course, TR, the same kind of story. But now we've got 2 teams, both with RB, Red Bull and Racing Bulls, which just creates confusion. You know, all the acronyms will be a mess. We've got Red Bull powered by Red Bull powertrains, RBRBPT, and then we've got Racing Bulls, also powered by Red Bull powertrains. So is it going to be Red Bull Racing? Is that RBR? And then it's Racing Bulls? Like, I don't know. It's a bit of a mess, but it's sparked a bit of, you know, some jokes really, where people will say, oh, well, Helmut Marko's going to come to Danny Rick and say, oh, you're driving in an RB next year. And he's, oh, let's go on buzzing. But yeah, he's stuck in the Racing Bull, which is basically still the AlphaTauri. Might be better next year, I don't know. But I do think if this is what they actually do, it's, well, I feel like they've missed a trick to some degree. I don't necessarily think they should have gone back to Toro Rosso, but I feel like they could have done better than just copy-pasting a Wish.com version of Red Bull and then making it, I don't know, I think it's going to be pretty confusing to some people. It's not exactly Racing Point, which was different, and okay, the livery's going to be different and probably pretty vibrant. The idea that Cash App and Visa are going to be the big sponsors, blue and silver team logo. Also, Tudor Watches is potentially set to join the team as well. So Tudor Watches, they are part of the Rolex group. So you've got Rolex and you've got Tudor. That's basically like, this is kind of funny really how it works, because Tudor's kind of like the sister brand to Rolex, arguably in the same way that, well, Red Bull second team, AlphaTauri, I was going to call them, but they're not really called that anymore. Let's go with Racing Bulls are to Red Bull Racing. Not sure how that would fit into the livery and the color scheme, but it's also interesting because Red Bull is sponsored by Tag Heuer, right? You know, they often wear the Tag Heuers, the Monaco, stuff like this. So, you know, you'd have kind of thought that the sister team might also be sponsored by, you know, Tag Heuer as well, but maybe there's more money in it for a different sponsor to come along and have that also, which is effectively what Red Bull, I'm sure, are doing here when they're making these decisions. So tweet your thoughts in the comments below. You know, maybe it'll grow on me over time. I'm not a massive fan. The logo is just, I mean, it's just so similar. Like, the font is the same. They're really not trying to pretend anymore that this isn't just a sister team, but at the same time, they're really not trying to pretend anymore this isn't just a sister team, but I just wish that there was a different acronym, because I just think it's going to confuse a lot of people, and it's going to just feel a little bit strange, to be honest. Now, I know there was some talk a while ago about, could Max, after he wins the championship, just hop into the AlphaTauri and drive a few races for a bit of fun, and see if Helmut Marko's claim that Max would win a race or get a podium or something, or pole position or whatever he said in the AlphaTauri is, well, probably not true, but, well, we won't probably get to find out, because Max has made it quite clear that no, he is going to continue to drive the main Red Bull as long as that is feasibly possible to do so. Couple of things as well on Mercedes, just because interesting record that Hamilton took this year. I'm guessing Max had this record last year at Spa, but I'm not exactly sure. Most overtakes in a Grand Prix. Hamilton had 15 overtakes. Don't know how many we saw on broadcast. Maybe 4 or 5. I don't think we saw that many, to be honest. There was that cracking one on Gasly where they went side by side through the final corner. There was a couple of good ones in there, of course. But well, he had the puncture drop to the back of the field. So we did like 5 or 6 overtakes near the start and then had to do another almost 10 towards the end. So that's the most by any driver in any race. As I say, last year, Verstappen went from P14 to P1. So I'm guessing that was one of the highest per an individual driver, for example, at Spa. But Nico Rosberg, of course, good, well, at times friends, at times enemies of Lewis Hamilton, always likes to talk about what's going on Mercedes. Now, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't long ago when Nico Rosberg said that as far as he's concerned, he's heard rumours that Lando Norris was on the move for next year, i.e. he's going to join Red Bull instead of Sergio Perez. That didn't go anywhere, did it, right? Rosberg was, yeah, I've heard rumours that Norris is on the move, he's out of a McLaren type thing. So I don't really buy much of what Rosberg says, Monaco-based YouTuber, of course, but this is what he says on Hamilton and Mercedes. There's a good chance that Hamilton will be fighting for the world title next year. Now, I feel like a lot of what these guys say, especially the pundits, let's say for Sky Sports, even Jenson Button recently said that next year, oh yeah, definitely there's going to be a mega championship fight. I don't know if they really fully believe this, or whether it's kind of like they, you know, make for the media, like for Sky Sports, it makes more sense if they big it up. It's the same thing as to when Formula One, after practice, they come out with the analysis on the F1 website on what the race pace is going to be, what the qualifying pace is going to be, and it's always like 4 teams within 2 tenths. And I'm like, there's no way you actually believe this, that Red Bull isn't going to be much faster. I just found one here, for example. This was after practice in Hungary this year, where Red Bull won, well, Max won by quite some margin, then it was McLaren. This was the qualifying simulation pace. Now, Hamilton eventually took pole here, but I mean, look at this, right? They do this every time, and it's like, it's never right, and I'm pretty sure I mean, everyone's within a second. Like, there's just no way. They do the same thing for the race, and I'm pretty sure they just do it because it makes people think that the race is going to be more entertaining than it actually is. I think the pundits sometimes do the same thing, because I don't know if Rosberg really believes that Mercedes are going to be that competitive with Red Bull next season, given how good they've been, how long ago they stopped developing the RB19. But who knows? It's possible. There's always a chance. If Newi's made a mistake, it might open the door, and Mercedes are maybe still the most likely team to actually put together a title fight of the potential rivals. But as he goes on to say, Hamilton might be fighting for the world title next year. They're starting to understand how their car works. Yes, they're inconsistent. They're getting it figured out. I'm happy when Mercedes wins, because that was my racing team in the past. And of course, he's potentially keen to see a return to the top. But I'm not sure that I'm convinced that Mercedes are going to be able to put up a fight, because there's plenty of things they've got to fix for next year if that is what they're going to achieve. And just a pretty funny piece of news to close out. CBS, American TV Network, is looking to, I don't, like, if you guys watch this, Godspeed, you know what I mean? They're looking to plan a workplace-based comedy show with Gunther Steiner. Apparently he's going to come in as an exec producer, but there will be a character who is in some way Steiner-esque. And it opens a lot of doors to potential jokes, right? Saying that, you know, look, Steiner and his team have been a bit of a joke the last couple of years, it's got to be said. So maybe it's rather fitting that he's potentially going to star in this comedy, which I'm sure will be absolutely hilarious. But very much interested your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.